They're like, can we get an update over here?
Stealth requests for Project B updates. That's what we're reading through over here today. Welcome back to another Q&A day, guys. Got a handful to run through with you.
Sorry we missed you last week. Josh
Yeah, we
posted
did.
it a little too late, and then we were like, we really don't have enough questions, so we wanted to just push it to this week and give you a full episode rather than answering like 3 questions and saying, okay, see you later.
See you next week.
But we back, baby.
We're back. This will be a good one. I think we got 19 in here today. Some are going to be short and sweet. Some a little juicier. Some intriguing requests for Project B updates. So let's dive in. The first one is going to be short and sweet. So alternatives to dips. I'm assuming they mean like a tower dip. So that could be a chest dip. It could be a tricep kickback. It could be a barbell skull crusher. It could be any other tricep isolation movement. If you want to go heavier compound to replace something a little more correlated to a dip, as far as like not being super iso, you could do a close grip bench press, dumbbell or barbell. Anything else you guys would want to throw in that?
I just want to say I hate training triceps. I think that's my least favorite muscle group to train. I don't know why.
Dips.
I don't mind dips, but like just triceps in general is like the most boring to me. I'd rather bicep curls all day, tricep anything. Nope.
I'm down.
But I will say, when I am consistently training my triceps, your triceps, I feel like, make your arms look nice. Like everybody thinks it's bicep, bicep, bicep. But when you have nice triceps, that's really, that's what not many females
That's what's
I know
really
are trying to fill out their shirt. But
your arm.
that gives you that toned look.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So anyway.
Look at you using our marketing words.
That and cap delts.
I feel like the pod fam knows if I say toned, I don't mean it.
They
And
know
like,
what you mean. Yeah.
let's get toned. Like, I just mean it like you will look jacked.
Yes.
Just for clarification, in case you don't know what I mean.
Thank you, Beth. Next up is Lucy. Hi, all. You say 4 weeks is the minimum time to stick to a program, and we can do more. I'm wondering if there is a number of weeks that is actually most beneficial. For example, if we're willing to stay with it for 6 weeks, should we do this, or does it not make any difference? Have there been any studies which look at the most optimal number of weeks to stick to a program? So,
didn't we talk about this recently? Didn't we talk about
I think we've talked about options.
similar around staying in a block longer than what's prescribed?
Yes. It was within the last couple months. I think it was a Q&A question. Slightly different, but it's not going to hurt you to stay in a block longer than 4 weeks. Like, it's not going to negatively impact things. I wouldn't say either, though. It's going to positively impact things more than 4 weeks. You know what I mean? Like, it's more so just you like the program, you want to stick with it a little longer, maybe push things a little bit more those last 2 weeks. However, I find, and the reason why we do 4 weeks is because people get bored and like to switch it up even sooner than that. So if we can give them a new program at the minimum time and keep things interesting, then the chances of them sticking with it are higher. So that's why we do 4 week blocks.
I was going to say it's mostly a boredom issue. I would say the only potential downside of staying in a block for I'm talking extended period of time, like months and months and months, is that you might be a little bit more vulnerable to like wear and tear injuries if you're not having a ton of exercise variety. Transparently, Brant and I have been having this conversation lately because he's in our home gym in the basement, and we have a decent amount of equipment, but no machines. Like the typical leg exercises he does are like the main ones he usually does, the same ones he usually does for arms or chest or shoulders. Like it's typically the same exercises. And he's been complaining about some just like aches and pains and some joint things and like some pain in his tricep. And I was like, when was the last time you like really changed up the exercises that you were doing? He was like, I kind of just do the same stuff every week. And I was like, it's possible that because you have a little bit less exercise variety and you're not like going to a main gym and we haven't gotten new equipment in a while, if you're kind of just doing the same things, you just might be a little bit more prone to some wear and tear from stressing the same movement pattern and the muscle in that position over and over and over. So I would say, again, I'm talking about extended periods of time there. If you're stretching a 4-week block into 6 weeks or 8 weeks or even 12 weeks, the most that's going to happen is you're probably going to get bored. It would be unlikely to affect you negatively unless you were following something, I would say, for an extended period of time.
Former elite powerlifter over here. Would you say strength-wise, having lengthened programs for specificity to improve specific lifts would be more beneficial?
Yes. In that scenario, if you're training for a powerlifting meet or, you want to really focus on your squat, bench, deadlift, or, whatever compound movements you're doing, I think that can be a benefit. Like my powerlifting blocks, and like when I had powerlifting clients, I would program them often for like 6-8 week blocks cycles, depending on the person. So again, it's not necessarily like better or worse. It's just kind of your preference and as far as like what your main goals are. I'm not an elite powerlifter, by the way. I was never elite.
Formerly.
I wasn't
Of the
elite.
three of us, you're elite.
Weren't you top 10 in the country for your weight class?
No, I was not.
You were ranked?
I was not.
Prior to
In the
national?
country?
Yeah.
Before national, I held the state record. I was not a national record holder. Wasn't that cool?
Okay, a state record would be fairly
Connecticut.
elite.
Semi-elite.
Caitlin asks, how do you keep your lower back from hurting when doing bent over rows? I tend to feel it in my lower back, which limits the weight I can do. Form.
Yeah,
Bracing.
it's likely a form issue.
Yeah, it's most likely a brace issue with your core and making sure that you're not in kind of an anterior pelvic tilt when you're in that row, that bent over row position, making sure that you have a neutral spine. Think about tucking your pelvis kind of underneath your butt, if that makes sense, which is not going to make sense at all. Feel free to drop a form video in the Facebook group.
Yeah.
And we could have our coaches take a look and give you some more specific feedback there. But most likely this is a bracing / core / position of your low back issue and not keeping your spine as neutral as it can be in that lift.
And you might just not be, like bracing your core the right way. Like a lot of people think they're bracing their core and activating their core the right way, when in reality they're not, and or it's just too weak for what you're trying to do. So it's either form or just like scaling back enough to let your core and like focusing on that, like let that catch up and then increase weight. But
also, one other thing that I just thought of, keeping the weight super close to you. Sometimes I see people do a bent over row. Did she say barbell or dumbbell? She didn't, right?
Just said bent over row.
Okay, so let's say you're doing a barbell bent over row. Sometimes I see the weight so far from people, and that could be putting extra tension on your low back because you're changing kind of where the lever and the movement arm is versus
and
keeping
like
the weight closer to you.
as you pull it in, I think about bringing it in towards like almost my
Your hip.
hips.
Yeah, it's
So,
not. It shouldn't
not
be up by your
chest,
chin
yeah.
or chest. Yeah, back toward your hips.
We're good at pulling in around here, just less good at pulling out.
Oh my God.
Do you want to talk about bracing for a second?
Me?
You said people think they're bracing optimally, but they may not be.
So a lot of people think bracing is like bearing down. Like think about the muscles that you use to go to the bathroom and poop, or just like pushing out, and that's not bracing. So
Yep.
when it comes to activating your core and activating those deep inner core muscles, which is like the trendy thing to talk about on social media right now. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Most of the time it's not. But realistically, like if you're activating your core the right way, it's almost like you have to think about lifting your pelvic floor up, exhaling all the air out of your stomach, and it's almost like a corset, like you're wrapping inward with those muscles, but you're still able to breathe through that. So like when I have an active core, I can keep it active and still talk to you guys and breathe through it and lift and like do those things. So it's something that is definitely a skill, and it takes time to like figure out how to do it the right way. But once you do it the right way, every exercise that you do essentially moving forward is a core exercise because you're actively bracing your core. And if you're not, you will likely know that you're not doing that because A, you either have then you have a super weak core, or B, you're going to experience issues like this where there's pain or things are off for whatever reason. And could it be other things? Sure. But I do find a lot of people struggle with bracing their core the right way. And I have a YouTube video on this. There is a video in the app on this too. So feel free to poke around in there. But yeah, that's my thoughts.
Jenna asks, how are you currently splitting up day-night parenting work duties with a newborn and older kids? What's your current newborn routine, flow for days and nights? Any advice for establishing some flexible routines, flows early postpartum? I'm a week postpartum and I'm interested in hearing more about what you've done thus far that's been helpful or maybe things that didn't work. Thanks again for these Q&As.
It's been different with every kid so far. So with the Kai, Josh and I have split like night shift and day shift, and everything was an even split because it's like you have one baby and you can both tackle it and it's all hunky dory, and then you have more children and you just cannot do that anymore. Your nipples are useless, so we kind of deemed overnight is just like there's no point in Josh waking up overnight. So yeah. I would rather have him sleep and then have energy for our other children to handle them in the morning and like do all the things elsewhere. So overnight it's just me. I'll wake up, feed Wes, put him back down. But
you say overnight, this kid's been a stud this week.
He's been excellent. We've been crushing sleep. But I mean, he'll still get up between 4 and 5 in the morning. So I'll feed him and then I'll get up. And listen, the routine I tell you today is likely going to be completely different next week or in the next couple weeks. So newborns they're evolving so quickly. So basically I'll just wake up with him whenever he gets up, needs to eat. Typically it's been between the hours of 4 and 5 the last couple of days. And then I've been getting up for the day at that point because I'm like, I feel pretty decent. I got at least 6 or 7 hours of sleep. So I'll get up and get my workout in. And then majority of the day, it's me and Wes. Like, I'm on with Wes. And Josh is kind of powering through with extra workload right now. And then other kids are sprinkled in. Like, Kai goes to school. So, like, Josh handles drop-off in the morning. And he takes Cora with him for drop-off. And I'm staying home with Wes to make sure he gets in for his first nap. So it's kind of like back and forth a lot, but mostly like me and Wes are like glued to the hip right now while he's exclusively breastfeeding, which is fine. Anything to add there? I know that didn't really make probably sense schedule wise, but there really is no like set schedule right now. It's kind of like we do what we can as far as work goes and mostly revolves it around the kids.
Yeah, I mean, as far as work, parenting duties, you're parenting the baby, I'm working, and I'm parenting the baby when I can, and you're working when you can. Mm-hmm. And then I tackle most of Kai and Cora stuff. Cora does some running around with me in the morning after I drop Kai off. We get back. I try to shut it down at a reasonable hour for work so I can be up here hanging out and, keep it relatively normal, go for a walk, make dinner, do the things.
I think it's funny how when we had Cora, it felt like, at least for me, it felt like such a bigger shift of us navigating things because it was just Kai for so long. And then it was like, you're going to leave me with both kids. I have to have both kids by myself.
Kids all by myself?
Yeah. And now it's like, we got 3. You just kind of roll with it. Like it feels like I don't want to say 3 is easier, but like I said this last episode too, like because we just did it, I feel like, okay, I did it with 2. Like what's one more? It's just like
they also get to hang out with each other though. Like
yes, Kai and Cora play really well right now, so that has been super helpful.
And next year, Wes will be the third musketeer. Like it'll be, like that's the best part. Like especially once they get into that 5 to 9 age group where like they can be more independent and go play outside by themselves, and we can just kind of keep an eye on them. Like right now,
Or like Kai
Kai's-
could be outside with the
Yeah.
babies and
Yeah.
like
which he is with Cora. It's Kai,
Right.
Cora, and Kona half the time.
Like I fully trust Kai with Cora at this point. Like
Right.
it's cool to think that like I mean, I'm not gonna not pay attention when they're home or like let them go do what they want to do for hours on end. But for the most part, like he knows what is right, what is wrong, when to come get me if
Right.
he needs help with something. Like he's very independent, and that just plays. I think that has impacted things to a whole nother level. Like when people ask me for 202 tips, it's like you have to take it with a grain of salt from me because I have a 6-year-old who is
helpful.
an awesome big brother.
Yeah.
It really is. Totally changes the game.
Did that help? Was that helpful?
I think so. I think so. I think
Do you have anything
know,
to add, Joelle?
I mean, her question was about being early postpartum. I think she said she's 1 week postpartum with a newborn now. I mean, this was like a week ago, so 2 weeks postpartum with a newborn. And she was saying she's interested in hearing more about like people's schedules and what you've done that's been helpful or not helpful. And I think when you're in that early postpartum, this is really just the thing I was going to add. When you're in that early postpartum and everything is so unpredictable and you're normally someone who's very anchored and rooted in routine and your work and your whatever your typical schedule was before, it can feel so hard, especially as a first time mom, which I think is the big thing here. And I don't remember if she said if she was a first time mom, but I'm assuming yes. Based on the question. And I just think as a first time mom, when your schedule is just all over the place like that, you're just craving getting back to a routine. And so I'm assuming it's a first time mom because that's who it mostly is like, tell me about your routine. Like, when am I going to have a routine? Tell me what you're doing. Tell me what's working and not working, because your first postpartum is like just chaos and you have
Literally
no clue what to expect. So like what Alessandra's talking about with like, this just kind of feels easier because this is my third time doing it. We've done it before. I have another child who can help. And also we just did this with Cora 18 months ago. So like it feels fresh in your head and you know how to handle it. I don't know that it's physically harder each time that you have a kid. I think logistically it's obviously different because you're like, okay, 3 different kids, we're 2 adults, we're outnumbered. How do we tackle this? But when you're on your first baby, that feels like 3 babies.
Yeah, I agree. That is just, we talked about this in the postpartum. Yeah. Was it the postpartum episode?
I think
was that
so.
A whole
I think it was our postpartum chat.
So go listen to that episode. That might be helpful to hear. Maybe not, because we kind of just elaborated on how hard first time mom life is. But I will say, like, newborn schedule situation, like aside from like what we're doing and handling it, we follow eat, play, sleep. So whenever Wes takes a nap, the first thing I do when I wake him up is I feed him, we play, we have tummy time for however long he needs to be awake, and we follow wake windows. That is a huge other thing that I think makes a big impact on sleep, and just kind of keeping them up as long as you can, but not to the point where they're overtired, to make sure that they are up for some part of the day. That has helped him. And then just making sure to help them like distinguish between day and night. So like during the daytime, like when I want him to nap during those earlier days, now he's in a blackout room for his naps, but during the earlier days, I would just make sure it was light and bright during naps and loud. And like, there was no, like the kids were running around screaming, the TV's on, like there was no, question that it was daytime. And then nighttime, it's very boring. I keep it dark. We don't turn on overhead lights when I'm waking up to feed him or TV. Like it was just like feed, get down to business, put him back down to sleep. And that has really helped him distinguish day versus night. So those are my 2 newborn tips as far as like schedule routine wise that we follow.
I think also, sorry, I was just going to add one more thing about sleep begets sleep. And so what I mean by that is, you know, a lot of people think like, oh, like keep them awake and it'll make them tired for bedtime. Overtired is like the worst thing that could possibly happen with a newborn. They're going to sleep so much at this age. But I completely agree with Alessandra. Like, look up what those wake windows are supposed to be. And obviously there's a little bit of wiggle room there depending on your kid. But based on their age, what those wake windows should be. And I mean, not everyone might like to hear us say like follow those religiously, but they made the biggest difference for all of our kids.
I mean, look, he's basically almost sleeping through the night right now and crushing
Like
naps.
6 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, it helps so much. And I wish I had that hindsight with my first. So here you go.
There you have it.
And you conquer one challenge and then you see the next challenge. So it's not that it ever gets easier. You just get better. Like the further along you get into it, you just get better with like anything else in life. Lindsay has an app question for...
I already answered this, so if you want to skip over it.
Skippity doodah. Ketsia, I'm looking to purchase new shoes for walking, and I'm wondering if you have any recommendations. We have small inclines, hills in our area, and I'll be pushing our 20-month-old on his bike. I find sometimes my shins hurt with current sneakers. I plan on doing a lot of walking with him this summer, so I want something that offers good ankle support and is comfortable for my high arches.
Best advice, go to a running store and get fitted for shoes that make sense for your feet and like your high arches and all that. Like I could tell you my top 5 favorite shoes, but if you have...
It might not work for your feet.
Yeah, exactly. So that is my like number one piece of advice for walking though. Like if you're not running, like just straight up walking, like just something very squishy. And then as far as how much support you need, that will kind of depend on what feels best for you when you go try on shoes. But I would definitely get out, even if you don't have a running store near you, like even just go to Dick's Sporting Goods or like some similar store and just try things on and see what feels best. But just generally something a little more squishy compared to what we're lifting in.
Yeah.
My knees would snap, crackle, and pop before we went back to that store. Like it was ridiculous. And then I got these marshmallow looking on clouds.
Yeah,
and they've been way better.
Mm-hmm.
I've become a big fan of like a wide toe box shoe, like my Flux sneakers. Like I have their trainers and their sneakers. They're like running shoe, which I don't run, but that would be my like everyday shoe. Like I'm walking, grocery shopping, drop offs. Like I'm in that running shoe. And it's a wide toe box. And any time now that I try to put on a sneaker that is not a wide toe box, I just want to cry. Like I get like my feet hurt. I get like nerve pain in my feet now if I'm not in a wide toe box. My toes have just between working from home and having a wide toe box when I am in a shoe, my feet have gotten accustomed to like my toes being able to move and spread and breathe. Right. And now if I'm in like a narrow shoe, I'm like, this is miserable. So I am team wide toe box.
I remember in college we would go out in like stilettos and I'm like, how the heck did I survive hours in the wee hours of the night in stilettos?
And it's funny now I see like my cousins who are in college who are like 20, 21. They go out, right? They're in sneakers. Like they're in like Nike Dunks and jeans and like a cute shirt. And I'm like, why couldn't that be like that when we were in college?
We had skinny jeans, stilettos,
like bottom contour dresses.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And heels. And it would be like a blizzard and we wouldn't bring a jacket with us because we didn't want to hold it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Good times. Great.
So the only positive of that is that anytime Cora tries something, I've already lived that life and I will.
Yeah. She will not be trying that shit. I don't know what they had going on in the Daniele household, but there's rules here.
This was college.
I can't wait to see Josh be a teenage girl dad.
It's going to be fun.
It's
already fun.
Cleaning my gun on the porch. Bree asks, again regarding app programming, a little backstory: strength training, powerlifting for 10 plus years with solid muscle foundation. Previous runner with a few ultra marathons under my belt.
Nice.
Right now, I have a suspected meniscus tear and unfortunately cannot do any of the dynamic power sections of the build program. I am also modifying any heavy squats and anything that puts too much stress on the knee. No more running for me, so taking my little guy for 3-mile walks daily. And I am following doctor's care. Any advice on some other dynamic movements to swap that isn't too much on my knee?
It's a super individual question, I feel. I would personally just omit the plyos right now until you can get back to doing them safely. Like focus on strength right now. And I mean, you could do like, I think, I don't know if these were programmed last month or this month, but like seated, it's basically a seated vertical jump without the actual jump. So you're just sitting down, you're coming up, you're exploding up onto your toes, like things like that, where you're not actually jumping like leaving the ground, but you're still getting that explosive movement. Even things like med ball slams, like when people think plyometrics, they always think like jumping and hopping and skipping, but it can be med ball slams, like all the different variations of those, doing them laterally, doing them from your knees, doing them with like one knee. So plyometrics and like getting that explosive power can be upper body too. So I would lean into that side of things. But at the end of the day, if you don't want to overcomplicate it, just omit the plyos for this month or for however long you need to, and then you can add them back in when you're ready. Was there another question to that, or did I answer it?
She just at the end it said any advice on other dynamic movements to swap that isn't too much on my knee. But again, that it's just super subjective because we don't know what too much on your knee is. Like, is a lunge too much on your knee? Is it just a squat that's too much on your knee? Is a leg extension too much on your knee? So super individual there. If you were looking for programming that is specific to your injury, then honestly, I would say like sign up for training only coaching with like Robin or Tom, who are our athletic trainers and strength and conditioning coaches who would be able to program for that injury specifically. So always something you could explore if you wanted a little bit more personalized approach there.
Samantha asks for the running queen. Is that you or me?
I think it's Kai.
I think it's Kai.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not a queen. Proper running form. Things to look out for and self-improve on. Favorite running fuel. How often to get new running shoes? Every like 4 days? Is that what the boxes show up as? Or
Hey, Noble sends me those. I don't pay for them. Anyway, number one was form, right? So form, honestly, don't overthink it. So many people like try to they basically overthink their form, and then when you're overthinking running, you're almost like making it worse because then it's like it's too much. So I would rather see you just run naturally and do what is best for your body, because there is no perfect running form. It's going to be different for everybody. A couple things you could think about is just not overstriding, so not taking too big of steps. Think about taking tiny little steps, and you might be going the same pace, but you're just taking more steps, and that's your cadence. So if you wear a Garmin or an Apple Watch, just kind of checking what your cadence is and seeing if you can increase that cadence. That can be a way to make sure you're not overstriding, which can often lead to injury. But aside from that, I really would not like hyper focus on changing anything while you're running. Just do what feels natural for your body. Fuel was the next one.
fuel.
Favorite running fuel.
So it can honestly, it doesn't have to be like running fuel, quote unquote. Like I have my favorites as far as like Huma gels, which is a chia seed like gel that they make that I think they taste good. You can have applesauce pouches. You can have any sort of candy, like anything that is a simple carb and that is fast digested is going to be key. Some people literally put potatoes in their little running satchel and eat potatoes while they're running, even though it's not, I mean, I think they eat white potatoes. What else? The honey stinger waffles. A lot of people like those. It really comes down to what you can eat most easily throughout your run. If you're talking about like intra-run fuel, but
And
pre-run
digestibility.
and digestibility. So you don't want to have something that you've never had before on your first 20-mile run or long run, and then like
Find out the hard
so
way
sick.
that you have to have diarrhea on the trail. Yeah.
So, experiment, but at the same time, like eat things that you know sit well with you. And it is going to be a little bit of an experiment to figure out what that is. But I would say to keep fiber low for something like that. And if you're talking about like pre-run fuel, it doesn't matter. It can literally be any sort of pre-workout carb source that you enjoy. So that's my 2 cents there. And then shoes, we talked about how often to get new ones. Was that it? Mm-hmm. I think the threshold is around like 300 to 350 miles. So once you put that many miles on a shoe, you can retire it. You do have to kind of track that and kind of see, when you reach that threshold, or do some quick math. If you run 4 times per week and it's usually a few miles, like figure out how long you've had those shoes for, but around that point. And it's not like they hit 350 miles and they die immediately. Like you probably have some wiggle room, but that's the recommended threshold.
If I could walk 500 miles an hour, would walk
Funny
500
story,
more.
not funny, but relevant. Brant was having like shins. I think it was his, I don't remember if it was in his feet now. I think it might have been his shins were bothering him. And he was like, I just can't figure it out. Like, I'm not running that much. And I think he went on to like Reddit or something, and people were like, get new shoes, get new shoes. And he got new shoes. And I was like, right, you really think you need new running shoes? Like, you'll run like once a week. But he was like, yeah, but I've had these for years and I run once a week on them. And he got new shoes, and all that, whatever the foot pain or knee pain or whatever it was, it all went away. And he was like, I guess it was just like my shoes being too worn.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. There's your sign to get new shoes if you have not in years.
and then you could tell your husbands that we gave you permission.
Yeah, with these
Well,
tariffs,
Sandra said.
$200 shoes are now $350. Told you should have got them before. Madison says, my office has a ton of snacks, and with going back to the office more, it's harder to make better choices. Can you share some tips and even snacks or meals to pack to the office?
First and foremost, if you are feeling super snacky, that immediately tells me that you are not having well-balanced meals. So I would start there, because I think it becomes a lot easier to quote unquote resist snacking, or like mindless snacking or unnecessary snacking if we are having whole nutrient dense meals, carbs, protein, fats, fiber in that meal. You're probably going to feel a whole lot less snacky because you're actually going to be fulfilled, have stable blood sugar, and feel satisfied and satiated from your meal.
I remember when I worked in an office many moons ago, this was the era of the Quest bar. Quest bars were like super popular. They had all the s'mores and like all the cool flavors, and I loved them. Like, I thought they were delicious. I don't know that I would think that today,
No.
but at the time I thought they were delicious, and I always wanted to fit one in my macros. But on the days that I had that Quest bar, and that was like a replacement of a meal at the time, I was like doing cuts for powerlifting and all that. It took up a good chunk of my calories, and I was always so hungry after. So just a reminder too, that if you're eating like a lot of protein bars and snacky foods like that, that might be healthy, that might, be a good choice. It might just not be enough food volume for you either. So pay attention to the volume. And like, if I had the same exact macros as that Quest bar in the form of like a chicken salad, you're going to be way more full and satiated from the chicken salad and feel much better from the chicken salad because you're getting all those extra nutrients too. So just my 2 cents.
You can also go in with a plan. Like, if it's Snicker bars sitting there every single day and it's like, all right, today I'm going to allow myself to have one. Like, just go into it ahead of time rather than I got to fight it. Or maybe it's on a Tuesday. Like, just go in with preset parameters so it's not really a question. Joelle keeps fading in and out to the night.
I
Is anyone
see
else seeing
that.
this?
I don't know what's happening. I
Sun's
see that.
rising and setting on you if you
And
guys are
your
watching
screen
this.
has been like super dark to me this whole time, and then randomly I'll just look over at my screen and it's black. I'm like,
Last
what just
episode,
happened?
you were riding the chariot out of the sun. Today, the sun's just setting and rising on you back and forth. But just like setting that mindset. So back to the question here. Set the mindset so it's not a question. It's like, this is my plan for today. It is what it is. I pack these balanced meals. I pack these snacks that I'm going to have. Like, those are going to be there. I already know that. I'm not having those today. Or I'm going to have one today, and that's going to be it. I'm going to walk away. That's going to be it.
That was something a lot of our nurse clients struggle with, that because I mean, if you're a nurse, you probably are familiar with, there's always just food and donuts, and like people bring things in, and like there's the break room with all the food, and I remember that being just such a big struggle with many of our nurse clients over the years, and I'm sure it still is today. So something that I would do is either what Josh said, I would have them like go in and like let yourself have something if it's something that you want and fit it into your macros, and just stop there. Because sometimes when we try to avoid it too much and try to restrict too much, then that's when you go overboard. And that's when one day you're just over it and you literally have 5 donuts because you tried to restrict for so many weeks on end. So it could be that side of things. It's also just such an individual scenario as far as like, what does the rest of your nutrition throughout the day look like? Are you walking into that break room super hungry? Like, yeah, your I was going to say withdrawal. That's not the right word. Your willpower is going to be naturally lower because you're already hungry. So look at it as a whole and start with just eating more of those balanced, nutrient dense meals.
I'm also going to push back slightly, and like, we're not just fitting it into our macros in my personal
I'm not
opinion.
saying
I
every
know you're
day.
not, but for those who just heard that and are taking it as that, like, to have the donut a day just because it fits in there is not going to be optimal, regardless how you slice it. Not a great strategy. So, in moderation, again, pick the day, go in with your preset of rules, and I'm with you. Like, my environment has a huge impact, so we don't keep those things readily available. Like, if I want it, we'll go get it, or if anyone else wants it, we'll go get it. We'll take the action step to do that, but those things don't live here. So I can sympathize and empathize. You know, it's in the office all the time. Like, that's a consistent battle. You kind of have to accept it and maybe not go into that room if it's like the snack room, or do what you got to do. But setting your structure, your standard, your rules for yourself in when you're going to have them will help, because it's less question, less decision fatigue, less of a consistent battle, and it's just the way that it is. Emily asks, Go ahead, Joanne.
I just wanted to add one more thing, because she said share some tips or even snack or meals to pack to the office. So I just wanted to add there, what you decide to bring to the office could obviously be anything. My recommendation when it comes to meal prep or prepping a plate, like, I don't typically think a ton about like massive meal prep. We sometimes do some batch cooking. And if we're going to batch cook, or if I'm just building an individual plate, I'm thinking carb, protein, color. So if you're packing a Tupperware of food, or you're bringing 1 or 2 meals with you at work, what could you put in that Tupperware, in that container that's carb, protein, color? So whether that's sweet potato, chicken, and a vegetable, whether that is, I don't know, a taco bowl with ground beef and rice, and you put some fruit in there, whatever it is, carb, protein, color would be my recipe, so to speak, for what to pack with you when we talk about building out a balanced meal.
And even I'll go one step further with that, Joelle. Like, healthy foods and those things, whole foods, they can taste awesome. Like, you can make great things where you don't even crave the other stuff because it just tastes so good. Like, my 2 things right now that I consider my desserts that I just eat, like, as part of my meals, are with breakfast, first or second breakfast. I have my oats with cacao powder, little scoop of peanut butter, drizzle of maple syrup, some cinnamon, and raisins. And I look forward to that every single day. It's delicious. My aunt makes these awesome granola balls that kind of taste like that. So I love that. And then even something like last night with dinner, I had 3 burgers, sauteed mushrooms and onions, and then sprinkled blue cheese on top. And that was delicious. Like, I was so...
blue cheese.
Oh, so good. You and Brant, not with the cheese.
Oh, and I love something like feta, but like blue cheese or gorgonzola is just too...
I don't like gorgonzola.
Blue cheese is in a league of its own. We do that on steak.
Like
we do
cheese.
Yeah, that too.
Can't do it.
But anyway, it's filling, it's delicious, and it's not like, okay, I got through the healthy stuff, so like, now what can I have for dessert? Like, I'm full, and that was awesome.
Yeah. I think that's a common mindset, is a lot of people like feel like they have to save macros for later, or like always fit in like a treat. But I find that when you do that, you're then like skimping out on something like adding cheese, or like adding the things that actually make the main meal taste good in the first place.
Yep.
All right, we got to go a little bit rapid fire here. Emily asks, how do you see the new power programs being used? Could you sub in a 20-minute power day once a week when following a different main program, such as Build, Move, Muscle Mommy, etc.? It's nice to have an option for a shorter workout on days we're short on time, but curious as to your thoughts on how this impacts training volume and overall results. I would say as long as you're consistent, like let's say you pick 3 days of another program and your 4th day is one of these powers, or 4-day program, power 20 is your 5th. The idea is exactly as you mentioned, like you're short on time, you want to do something, you get one of these in. Just gives you a little bit of structure. So for those unfamiliar, we did add the Power 20 workouts to the app. It's not even a full program. It's just a week. It's 4 days each for either minimal equipment, dumbbells and a bench at home, or all body weight. And you can get these done in honestly like 15, maybe 20 minutes max. It's just to squeeze it in. It's a bit further along than an exercise snack, but it's just a compact, get it done in 20. So use it however you see fit. Like if it's a fun thing on the weekends, you want to do with the kids running around, you're outside, you want to sneak something in while they're playing soccer in the yard. Or if you want this to be a consistent supplement to another program, every Friday is a super busy day, so I want to get in this shorter workout. Like there's no wrong way to do it, especially if this is supplementing one of the main programs themselves. Do you guys disagree, agree?
No,
Yeah,
I agree.
Okay. Catherine asks, what snacks are your kids currently loving? Thanks for all that you do.
Snacks. Honestly, both
We
of
do a
our
lot of-
kids love clementines right now. Like, I don't
Yep.
know, something in the last month or so, like Cora will down 2 or 3 a day just
Yeah.
to keep it simple. But as far as like,
Don't do that. It's going to hurt her stomach with all that acid. Sean got gastritis from having 2 oranges a day in high school. So I'm like,
an orange
scarred
is
from
much
seeing
different than a little cutie. Like,
Yeah.
they're literally this big.
She's got a
Reese
smaller
eats 2 or
stomach.
3 of those a day too. She typically has like 2 with lunch. Sloan brings that, like I pack them for Sloan's lunch too. We are a lot of fruit for snacks. Like we are.
Which
I
is
know your
expensive
kids
as
too.
crap.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. A lot of fruit, a lot of applesauce pouches, like the go-go squeezes. We also do a lot of yogurt pouches, either the Siggy's yogurt pouches I like because they're higher protein, or is it Stony Brook?
Stony
Farms?
Brook, yep.
But they make a zero added sugar one, and we buy that one.
Is there Farm on the Hill or something? Is that one of them?
Once Upon a Farm.
Once Upon a Farm.
Farm on the hill.
I got 2 words correct, and someone will make fun of me. 2 of those are correct.
You got Farm.
Farm and a pond. Pond is something.
Yeah, that's Jennifer Garner's brand. We like that brand too.
They're expensive. I didn't realize they were
they're
$3
really
a pop.
expensive.
And those you have to keep those refrigerated versus like the Go-Go's don't have to be.
What's the Bear something brand?
It's just Bear,
the
I
gummies,
think.
the
The
fruit
fruit snacks,
strips. Is it called
Yep.
like Bear Fruit though? It's just
I
called
think it's
Bear.
just Bear.
Yeah.
Oh, they like a lot of that stuff, like the fruit strips, the like quote fruit roll-ups that are like
Yep.
so not the fruit roll-ups that we had growing up, but they're like no added sugar fruit gummies.
They're honestly
fruit
not
strips.
bad. I've tried them. They taste
Yeah.
pretty good, I think, for no added sugar.
That's it. Bars. Core will do.
Yep.
Kai,
I
not
like
so
that's
much.
at
The
bars.
what? Oh, the That's It bars.
That's It.
Yeah, we do the
Apples
Go
and
Macro
blueberries,
minis.
and that's it.
That's it. We do the Go Macro mini bars and the RX mini bars too if the girls want a bar.
I like the solely fruit jerky personally right now. Cora loves it too. They're kind of harder to come by. I think you can order them on Amazon though, but it's literally like a piece of dried fruit in the shape of a jerky, but they taste so good. And then what are those
mango.
granola bars that you get, Kai?
The Made Good ones.
Ella Delicious or something.
Yeah, they're at
I
Whole
like
Foods.
some of the Made Good ones.
Those are good.
All right, we're going to keep cruising. That was a whole bunch.
Yep, that was
She did have a second part we're going to hit quick. Totally unrelated to fitness. Would you guys ever homeschool? This was strongly in the discussion when things were getting real weird. You guys are coming out, not you guys, but the world as a whole was getting real weird. And we didn't have the capacity, but it was definitely on the table. So
It's not
would.
off the table. It's
not
just
not
off
off the table either.
none of us have the capacity for it right now, but in a perfect world, it would
Yeah.
potentially be something we entertain.
Yeah.
All of
Yes.
us.
In a not perfect world too, you find a way to make that work. But things are a little bit normalized now, so it's not something we got to force. Anonymous member 545. I always think of Lilo and Stitch when we read these. Can you comment on how the new project is going? She's referring, he or she, not sure, it's anonymous member 545, on how Project B is going. That's what we're here with. I don't recall hearing much lately, so just curious. Are we going to hear about it in the summer, end of year? Tone is curious and excited, not judgmental. Yeah, a lot going on. We are all pouring our life's work, resources, energy into Project B.
Money.
Money.
It's
What
hard.
money?
Like, we want to share more
I
with
know.
you guys. Like, it's really hard to not share more, but at the same time, we just want to be able to like drop a bomb one day and be like, boom, here it is. So
What I will
Mic
say,
drop.
is, first of all, this is the biggest thing that we have ever taken on. But it's going to be more so than what you see at first glance. It's going to be a great first step. We have a massive vision for where this is going. And there's different channels depending on what direction you guys want to take it. This is for you guys. And there's going to be a ton of feedback that you give, obviously. Then we're going to be listening to all of it as far as what makes the most sense, what's providing the best tools and resources and delivering the most value. So it's going to hit you guys in stages. I'm praying to God, sweet baby Jesus, sweet 8-pound, 6-ounce baby Jesus, that this is out like at the beginning of summer. You haven't seen Talladega Nights?
I don't
I like
quote
to
movies,
pray to
you know this.
I like to pray to baby Jesus. Yeah, praying that it's out for the beginning of summer. The first version.
Remember
For for
remember
full
when we said
transparency, we were shooting for a January 1st launch back in 2025. It is currently April something 9th. Are we in May
April
yet?
9th.
April 9th.
Almost.
April 9th, 2025. So we're hoping that in the next few months we will have more information for you. I also want to mention, like, it is not out later because like things haven't gone as planned. Things have gone so much better than planned, and that's why it's taking longer than we would have liked. Like, in theory, we would have loved to launch something a few months ago.
we probably
But
could have, but
right,
it-
and probably
we
could
want
have, but we want this to be so friggin' perfect for you guys that we are unwilling to launch it early just for the sake of getting something out. We want this to just be the best thing out there. And so we're going to wait until it is exactly what we want it to be before we drop it.
We talk a lot about changing the world, making the world a happy, healthy place. And this is how we're going to do it. I'll just leave it at that. Chelsea asks, thoughts on yoga for someone getting back into movement in general, still in the process of recovering from PPPD and unintentional weight loss of 20 pounds for an already thin person.
do it. Anything that sounds appetizing as far as a workout and that gets you back into the swing of things, full send.
Sure.
Samantha Lynn, looking for advice in regards to using the sauna in relation to a lift or run. Would it be better to use it before or after your workout? I do most of my workouts at home, but will occasionally have time to go to the gym that also has a sauna. Are there minimum, maximum time benefits? There's a second paragraph to that, so to stop there. I'm an advocate of post-workout. I know some people say you can warm up using that. I'm usually pretty tired and floaty after, so I enjoy it post-workout, post-run. It can also be an extension of the workout, which is a cool benefit. You're elevating your heart rate for an extended period of time, but feeling really good doing it. There are also some potential recovery benefits of that happening post-workout. Maximum, minimum time. I don't know if they've capped it at a max. There's some crazy protocols. They've studied like once a week for 60 minutes. And on that cadence, especially early on, there's like a ridiculous, I want to say 10,000% bump in growth hormone levels. So like for a major event, if you didn't sauna every day, but you did that once a week, and you get a really nice recovery benefit by that bump in GH. As far as minimum, it's 15 to 19 minutes-ish, 172 degrees Fahrenheit. You want to be in that 172 to 212 Fahrenheit range. Also, when talking about cold exposure, I'm interested in starting cold showers as I don't have a cold plunge. I typically shower in the evening after dinner, a few hours before bed. Is there any downside to cold exposure at night versus in the morning? And when talking about the benefits to exposure to the extremes like hot and cold, could you see those benefits of doing that in the shower in comparison to sauna and cold plunge? I don't know that I understand the last part of that, but there are more benefits to doing the cold exposure in the morning. It's a nice morning cortisol spike, which helps control it later on in the day. Cortisol is not bad. You just want it to be balanced and bumped at the right times. It's also great to wake up, obviously, setting your circadian rhythm. When you are doing cold exposure later in the day, you can actually negatively impact that cycle. Not the end of the world, just not optimal. Ideally, cold in the morning, hot in the evening, because that heat triggers the cool down mechanism that allows you to get better sleep, especially when we're talking about that deeper sleep. Extremes like hot and cold, could you see the benefits of doing that in the shower in comparison to sauna plunge? So part of that similar mechanism in regards to heat shock proteins, they're actually both activated in sauna and cold exposure. Cold plunge is where the majority of the studies are being done when you see any kind of data, versus cold showers is just harder to replicate and be consistent with. Yeah, I'm not sure where else that was going.
I think you covered it.
Okay. Brooke, if you don't have a pull-up bar and have an old neck injury, the dumbbell pullovers end up flaring. Do you have any more alternatives for that movement or overall tips to help the pullover not cause a neck flare? I'd love sample schedules, adding in minimal cardio.
Let's talk
build and move.
to the neck
Yeah.
flare queen.
As the neck pain queen over here. Yeah, so a few things. One, if there are, she's talking about a pullover or a don't have a
Both. So we
pull-up bar.
in the app, I have a dumbbell pullover as like an alternative if somebody doesn't have any access to a pull up. That's like dumbbell.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you could definitely be doing something else that is going to activate your lats pretty well. If you have some sort of access to a cable, I'm going to tackle this in two pieces. One is just alternate exercises potentially to a pull-up. If you do have a cable setup, but you don't have a pull-up bar, you could just do like a cable lat pull down instead to hit the lats similarly if we're talking about like a wide grip pull up versus
or even a band. If you have a resistance band, you could anchor somewhere above you.
Anchor it high above and pull down. Yep. Same thing with either a band or a cable. You could do a single arm like lat pull down that way. The pullover causing a neck flare. A few things. One, this is telling me that it's potentially too heavy for you. And that potentially our form is not as great as it can be. It is possible that that exercise just causes a flare for you. And if you bring the weight all the way down, and your form is great, and typically when we're doing a pullover, one of the big issues that I see is when people's arms are extended behind them, your ribs come up and your back comes off the bench. We want to avoid that as much as possible. You want to think about anchoring your ribs down and keeping your back, your low back, flat on that bench. If it cannot stay flat there, then the weight is too heavy for what your core and your lats can handle. So I'm wondering if the weight is potentially too heavy, and it might be that at a lighter weight, your lats aren't feeling it, but at a heavier weight, your neck is flaring. So it just might not be a great exercise for you. You could try doing it with a lighter weight. If that is still causing flare-ups and pain in your neck, then I would swap it for a different lat exercise variation, whether like Alessandra said, if it's bands or if it's cables. Those are probably going to be your most common choices there, because to get that same lat movement, like you're not going to get that from an overhead press. It has to be something that's pulling down. So there's not really another dumbbell exercise for that. You could do like a cable pull down, like I'm thinking of like a rope, but I don't know if she has cables. If you have a cable or resistance bands, you have a lot of options for sure. If you don't have cable or resistance bands, you're going to be a little bit limited in a lat engagement exercise.
Second part of her question was just adding cardio to a strength training routine. Minimal time, don't have extra time aside from the workout. So stacking it on the end of a shorter day. So whichever of those days that you are finishing up with a little extra time, just get in what you can in the modality that you can. Ideally, 75 minutes a week, they say vigorous, 150 of moderate, but do what you can. If you can stack on 3 20-minute sessions at the end of 3 workouts, or you have a 4th day or a 5th day that you can do on its own, super. But like, don't overthink it. Like, squeeze it in where you can. If you're getting some kind of balance, you're doing more than 95% of the population.
Mm-hmm.
And Renee asks for alternate exercises for hip abductions and hyperextensions due to a limitation in equipment.
I wonder if she does muscle mommy, because these are things that I program pretty frequently.
She does. I'm pretty sure she does.
Yeah. So in terms of hip abduction, if you don't, let's say, have a hip abduction machine, if you could at least potentially get a band, like, what do they call it used to be called, we used to call them a hip circle. Like, you remember when a hip circle
mini band, like a mini band.
Mini band, thank you.
Yeah.
I was like, what do they call those now?
I know they were hip circles back in the day.
Yeah, like the Mark Bell hip circle was like the thing. But when we talk about hip abduction, we're trying to really target primarily like glute med, glute min, or like what we would say the outer glutes, which are important for hip stability. So something like a banded lateral walk. And again, a mini band that would kind of go just above the knees or potentially around the ankles, where you could maybe stay in like a half squat position, step side to side or step forward back. That could be really great for glute med activation. I think, Alessandra, I've seen you do these.
The lateral kickbacks.
Yeah, I was actually thinking clamshells
Yes,
that I think
so
I've seen you do.
the clamshells with the hip raise. So it's
Yeah.
not just your knees opening and closing. Like as you go, you lift your hips up and open and then bring your knees back down closed as you come down. And I literally just hold like a 5 or 10 pound plate on the top leg, and they are killer. They are hard.
You don't even necessarily need a band for that. You could start with body weight and then like hold a 5-pound weight on your thigh, and those are rough. But yeah, a kickback could work in some capacity. Not quite the same, but cable hip abduction, you could try and do it with a cable.
You said lateral kickback, right?
What?
So yeah, kind of more of a lateral kick, like a diagonal, I guess.
Lateral,
kickback.
Not really a kickback, a kick sideways.
Yeah.
A lateral kick sideways.
A lateral kick sideways. That could be a good option if you do have access to cables.
And you would need the ankle strap, so that's kind of limiting.
All right, what about hyperextensions?
Hyperextensions, we're talking about glutes, hams, and potentially low back, but something like a good morning, something like an RDL, a glute bridge, or a hip thrust.
I've seen people do hyperextensions if you set up the barbell lower on the squat rack and use a hip thrust pad, put it over it. You can potentially like bend over that to do it.
What are you anchoring your feet with? Heavy dumbbells?
You have to either dumbbells or set
or
up
like
the
a
bench.
Nordic curl.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah,
so
a Nordic curl could be a good alternative.
That's again kind of a complicated alternative.
Ham,
but.
yeah. We'll give you a bunch of names, and you could YouTube the demos of these without us trying to describe them. But a Nordic curl, an RDL, a cable pull through could potentially be a good alternate.
Can either of you do a body weight, like actual no support Nordic curl?
What?
Haven't tried in
Probably.
years.
If I could do like a reverse hyperextension, I would say, yeah. A glute ham raise machine, then I would think I could do a Nordic curl.
I can do a glute ham machine. Nordic curl is...
That's really what you're doing on a GHR.
It's unbelievably difficult.
Basically, I haven't tried, I guess, in a while, because you kind of need someone to either hold your feet or
I have to go
get a baby.
So,
well, we're gonna wrap it up here anyway. That was the last one. Where can they find you, Joelle?
At Joelle Samantha.
At Alessandra Skutnik.
I'm not Josh Skutnik. I was waiting for you to do it. You wanted to do it.
I was gonna do it. Everything else you need is linked in the show notes.